Librarian, yay! Because I love to read, and so I always had fond memories of the library when I was in school.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So now we got that out of the way. So essentially the first half we're just going to have like conversation, and then the second half we have like a little exercise to kind of like make that more tangible.
Okay.
So we'll start with some like super easy foundational questions. So what grades do you teach, and what kind of students do you interact with?
Well, we have about 540 students, and I interact with just about all of them. I am in the related arts rotation for kindergarten because we have 6 kindergarten classes, but only 5 related arts. So I have kindergarten, and that's who I use Go Noodle with.
Okay.
But we read some books, we do some stuff on the computer, we do Go Noodle, just several different things because their attention span is like that.
So do the students have like a particular block for like time in the media center, or how does that
everybody has a weekly time to come, and we either do an activity or read a book, and then they check out. But kindergarten, they have a separate checkout time, just like for 15 minutes to come and get a book, and then I have them for the whole hour during the related arts.
Okay, cool. How long have you been teaching?
I have been at Dan Mills. This is my 4th year. Before that, I was a middle school librarian for 7 years, and before that, I taught 3rd grade. So I've been an educator for 17 years.
Wow.
What got you into being a librarian?
It was just something I always wanted to do. I started taking. I moved schools, and I was assigned an ELL class, and I really liked it. But they said in order to continue with it, that I would have to get my master's. And I thought, well, if I've got to get my master's, I want to get it in something I want to do.
Yeah. Okay.
So
then you did master's library science.
Yeah, master's library information sciences. At Tribeca.
Cool.
Yeah.
So have you noticed a big difference from going from middle school to...
Oh my gosh. I don't know what to tell everybody. I don't know what took me so long to get to elementary school. I never want to go back.
Aww.
I love elementary because I can be goofy with them. And, in middle school, the 5th graders were my favorite because they were still babies. And, the 7th and 8th graders are like too cool for the library. But, I mean, they love coming in here, and I just love it. This is the best job ever.
Oh, that's great. What is like the most challenging or difficult part of it?
I don't get to know all the kids as well as their classroom teachers do, but there are some like there's 2 little girls. They're twins, Ashley and Arella, and I told them that they don't get to graduate this year. That I'm going to tell their teachers to fail them so they can stay at Dan Mills forever.
Aww.
But just finding time to do everything is what I struggle with. I had a clerk up until this year, and so that helped a lot. So I'm still just trying to balance everything and still trying to do everything that I've always done, and it's difficult sometimes.
Yeah. So this is the first year that you've had to kind of manage that.
Yeah, without a clerk.
Wow.
So, yeah. Wish I had her back.
Aww.
One thing I totally forgot to give you is we have this swag bag of Go Noodle stuff.
Oh,
and that's part of like your reimbursement. So please take this. There's some stickers and stuff in there, and I should have given that to you before we even started.
Okay.
Anyway, so we'll go back to this. Maybe you can help, we kind of want to get a good sense of when you start thinking about planning, the time that you have to plan, what times of your schedule you plan out, and how much you plan them, and to actually when you have your sessions and your classes. So maybe you can, start wherever you want and kind of start talking about...
So you want to... Because really I only use Go Noodle with the kindergarten.
It's not just Go... We're not interested in just Go Noodle, but anything you have to, lesson planning is kind of why we're here. So.
Yes.
Well, a lot of what I do is supplement what the classroom teachers are doing. I try to meet with them. It's not always possible. I never get to meet with kindergarten because I have their kids during their planning period. But most of the grade levels are really good about including me in their team notes. And so when, if I know that they're working on, 4th grade does Native Americans, and so I'll pull books for them. We also partner with the Nashville Public Library for Limitless Libraries, where I can request books from them to be sent in. The eclipse that was last month, the science teacher and I collaborated with that. We have like a visiting Vanderbilt scientist. We collaborated together and taught everybody in the school everything they needed to know about the eclipse.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, just kind of, teachers will come to me and say, hey, we're working on this. What do you have? And then when I feel like I've kind of found my groove now, so I know what, they kind of do the same thing at the same time every year. So, I'm like, okay, the Native Americans for 4th grade are coming up, and I'll look for stuff and I'll give it to them, or, hey, I found this website, and pass it on to them.
So, timing-wise, do you know what's going on just because you have kind of a calendar of your own that you're following, or because you're sitting in on meetings with them? How do you know, like, when to pull the right resources? Is it...
Well, like I said, since I'm starting my 4th year, they kind of all do it at the same time, so I just kind of know, like 2nd grade in May they do the Wax Museum, where they do a biography and they research it and dress up like that person. I just kind of always know that that's then. And in the spring they do fairy tales and folk tales, so it's just I kind of have my own. I just kind of know here's what's coming up. But then they're also really good about telling me what's coming up as well.
So will they, like, email you, or do you guys have a time where you're actually together?
A lot of it's informal. With their team planning, if I can't go to it, they're good about emailing me, their notes from that week's meeting. Or just, a lot of it's informal. They'll see me in the hallway and say, hey, we've got this coming up next week. Do you have anything?
So is it usually like a week in advance that you'll be thinking about it, or is there anything that you're like, oh, next semester we're doing this?
It's I'm never that far ahead. I wish I were, but no, it's more, a week or 2 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, so I'm like totally clueless to the logistics here. So if you find a resource for like a particular class or like the 2nd grade or something, what do you do next?
I'll like with the folk tales that I do with 2nd grade. They come in for their weekly checkout, and during that time I'll do a fairy tale one week, a tall tale, fables. Do a different type of story each week to go with that. Websites or just things that I've come across. I'll just send it out to the teachers. Use it if you can. If you can't, trash it.
Yeah. So can you tell us more about like the weekly checkout? What does that mean?
Oh, okay. So I have them on a 30-minute schedule. So they come in, we read a book for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then they have 15 minutes to check out. They just come in. They have their shelf markers right here, and they go, and that's like a placeholder on the shelf. So they put it next to the book that they want to get, and they pull it out and look at it. And if they like it, if that's the book they want, then they come and check it out. If not, then that shelf marker lets them know that's where it belongs. And that's really helped because my clerk, I've had to start the shelving. I was blessed because she didn't mind shelving, and I really don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's just something I got to do. And so it helps that the books are somewhat back where they need to be, because then when somebody else is looking for it, I'll go there and it's not there, and then a week or two later I'll find it over there, and I'm like, why?
So what responsibilities did you have to take on aside from the shelving stuff that your clerk used to do?
Oh, God. Well, she was just a part-time clerk. But shelving was just, she would repair the books. Just a lot of the minutia she would take care of. And I was spoiled. It let me get out of here on time, and usually I stay every afternoon for about an hour or so, just getting ready, finishing stuff up and getting stuff ready for the next day, because once they come in, it's boom, boom, boom.
There's not a lot of the classes come in and then you're immediately on to the next class.
Right.
There's no break between classes.
Right.
Yeah. And then, do you get a planning period during the day?
I do, and I take it.
Yeah.
And